Welcome back to Temporal Directive, the Star Trek fan podcast, rewatching the entire franchise in chronological order. I'm Gary.
And I'm Tom.
And this week, we're watching Star Trek Enterprise's Singularity. Star Trek, the ultimate franchise. These are the podcasts of the Wakefield brothers. Their 16-year mission to watch every production, to seek out life lessons and new inspirations, to boldly watch like most fans have watched before. How you been, Tom?
Well, I'm good now.
Feeling better?
Yeah. I don't know what it is. It must be working with all these new people. They must be like sick carriers or something.
Maybe you're just allergic to work.
Well, it's possible. I've been away long enough. I can't handle it anymore.
I don't know if you watch The White Lotus, but maybe you're the Parker Posey character. I'm guessing you haven't watched.
I haven't seen it.
She says, I don't think at my age I'm supposed to live an uncomfortable life.
Does sound like me. Nothing else has been happening really. I've just been crook and then better for a couple of days and then back to work.
Yeah, I haven't got much to report either. Just working and working.
Yep.
But Strange New Worlds has finally released the season 3 trailer.
Oh, nice.
And not confirmed a release date.
Oh, here's a trailer. Don't know when you're going to see it.
Yeah, they just said summer.
Oh.
So
winter for us.
Winter for us.
Right.
Yep. Speculation is that it'll be the end of July. Apparently one of the UK sites or something that stream it after Paramount in the US said it was coming, I think, the 1st of August or in the early August. So they were speculating that it's probably going to air in the US on Paramount a week earlier.
Yeah.
So we're expecting July.
Cool. Nice.
And I'm guessing from your reaction that you haven't seen the trailer.
No, I have not.
Okay.
I did not even know.
Well, I won't ask for your opinion.
No. Do we see Cyborg?
No Cyborg. It's an interesting trailer.
Well, that's encouraging. That's really encouraging.
Adam, my partner Adam, who's not a Star Trek fan, I showed him the trailer and said, "What did you think?" And he said, "I think that looks really good."
Oh, crap. Great.
I think it looks different. It looks like there's going to be more episodes that skew the genre.
Why?
Which is cool every now and then, but the reason they're cool is because they're not that often.
Exactly.
So the musical episode was fun because we don't get stuff like that very often. But at the core of Star Trek, I just want a Star Trek story.
Yeah. And that's what Strange New Worlds is sort of be, right?
I feel like there's one shot in the trailer that I feel like you would not appreciate, which is like a holodeck, like a next-gen style black room holodeck with yellow stripes.
Okay. Well, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's out of place.
Well, the animated series had a holodeck, so like the technology existed on the Enterprise, but they didn't have a big black room with yellow.
No, that was
it was like a console.
Yeah.
And I don't think they called it a holodeck. They called it a rec room, I think, or a recreation room or something like that.
Yeah.
And so the technology does exist in that time period, but we just haven't seen it. And I assume because we haven't seen it that it was not very common.
Yeah.
But it might not have been on the Enterprise either.
No. Well, that's true. But
still, it might have been on a starbase or a planet or something. And
still, to have the holodeck like in Next Gen at that time seems a bit inaccurate.
Maybe we should pause for a second and you should watch the trailer so you can give us your thoughts.
Should I?
Yeah. Let's hit the pause button and we'll be back in a sec.
Well, that was interesting.
Okay.
I think you're right about it looking like it's overfilled with non-Star Trek. Well, you didn't say it like that.
No.
But
I was waiting for you to finish before I corrected you.
but with, sort of the special episodes, I'd say. It looks like there's a lot of that.
Yeah, special episodes aren't special if they're everyone.
That's right, exactly. I mean, it looked cool, a bit like that sort of retro style thing they were going for. I mean, that would be a cool part to see in an episode, but
It kind of reminded me of the Black Mirror USS Callister episode,
that's
right?
exactly where my brain went
Like, and then they started talking about other genres, and like, I was like, is this Strange New Worlds or is this like Black Mirror in space?
Yeah, that's it. It was very much like that. And then like things with like the telephone wire running through the ship and stuff. I know it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm going to watch it anyway, so we'll see what happens. But yeah.
Anyway, I think it looks interesting. I know Jonathan Frakes directed the murder mystery one.
Yeah.
And he said it's the best hour of television he's ever directed.
Yeah,
so
right. And I
expect it'll be a fun episode.
Yeah.
We only get 10 episodes a season, and it's been 2 years since we've had Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
So
and we already know.
I just hope that there's enough in those 2 episodes to make it feel like Star Trek. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
I know the premiere is going to be good because it's the part 2 of the Gorn episode battle thing. So I'm sure that'll be a good episode. I'm sure they're all going to be good episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. I know what you're saying.
I'm just saying, with such a small 10 episode season, I just really want good Star Trek stories.
Yeah, you want actual Star Trek. And where's Cyborg? I mean, seriously, why do we get a tease?
I don't know that they'll ever bring him in. I think it was just a tease.
Well, they're bastards. Fuck
Just a tease to say that he exists.
I hate it.
I'm assuming. I could be wrong. But like they didn't.
He's the murderer.
I haven't seen. That would be interesting. I haven't seen Star Trek 5 for a while, but I know that they hadn't seen each other for such a long time.
Yeah.
So I think if you are going to introduce him here, then I don't know. It seems like too close to the timeline, because there's people like Uhura would know that he had a brother.
True.
And she doesn't know that in Star Trek 5. So unless Spock leaves the Enterprise to go and deal with something and then doesn't talk about it when he's back, they can't really introduce Cyborg.
Just a random sister.
Yeah. Because he doesn't talk about his personal life, Tom.
No.
We've established this.
Yeah.
You can argue about that in Discovery. We're not that far away from it.
Yay.
This is just all the best for you, isn't it? Starts with Enterprise, leads into Discovery.
Why did we start here again?
Chronological. All right, let's get into this week's episode, shall we?
Yep.
The episode is titled Singularity, written by Chris Black, directed by Patrick Norris. The air date was November 20th, 2002, and the IMDb synopsis reads: T'Pol must save the ship after the crew becomes obsessed with trivialities during the approach to a black hole. Sound familiar?
Never happened to me before.
This seems familiar. Wasn't there a DS9 episode where everyone got obsessed over little things?
I'm not finding it in my head.
I think there was an early Deep Space Nine episode. When we pause to watch, I might have a quick Google while we get a coffee.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure there was a Deep Space Nine episode. Isn't that when Cisco built the clock? Wasn't everyone else obsessing over
doing
little things as well?
To different stuff. Yeah, I think you might be right there, because he was focused on the clock. But
and then Odo was the only one not affected, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. I need to check that.
Yeah, you need to dive on that, because I can't fully remember.
Shut the fuck up. We'll go and get a coffee, and I'll Google that while we get a coffee, and then we'll watch the episode and come back and talk about it.
Right, sounds good.
All right, we'll be back in a minute. And we're back from watching Singularity. Well, Tom, first thoughts. What did you think?
I actually liked it a lot, really.
Good.
I enjoyed it.
Excellent.
It was good. I think the acting was really good in all this too. Like,
It was a fun episode.
it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. But it did leave us with one burning question at the end. Did Hoshi ever make the soup properly? Everyone else had a kind of closure to their story. And the last we saw Hoshi, she was unconscious in the galley.
Yeah, pot bubbling over.
Yeah. So did she ever get it right?
True. We will never know.
They could have just had her bring a cup of soup to the captain on the chair and he went, delicious. Or they could have just added something,
One
a
final thing.
tiny little second of...
Yeah, or even
Here,
the chef.
Captain, try
Although
this.
we've never seen the chef.
We never see
so
that. We never ever see the
Yeah,
chef.
so he couldn't have had the chef come in.
No, and that was the first time we've seen the galley as well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, good. Let's get into it.
All right.
We see crew members unconscious on the floor, slumped over their stations, whatever, all through a couple of areas of the ship, and we get to Paul's science officer's log over the top. An Enterprise remains on course for the trinary system. I've transmitted a distress call, but the nearest Vulcan ship is more than 9 days away. By the time they arrive, they may only find debris, if that. Even if Enterprise makes it past the black hole without being destroyed, it seems likely the crew won't survive.
Bow, bow, bow.
We're in Paul's quarters and she's still recording her log and she says she's doing analysis. Dr. Phlox isn't able to help her, so she's not sure how she's going to reverse the effects of the radiation. And she says that this all started nearly 2 days ago, and then it fades into 2 days ago.
Just like a typical 90s show.
Yeah. 2 days ago. Whoa. We fade into the situation room at the back of the bridge, and Archer says, "You're sure it's a black hole? Are they rare?" Like,
apparently.
Paul says it's a class 4, and that the Vulcans have surveyed thousands of these, but they've never seen one inside a trinary star system, so they're interested in doing some analysis. So they say they can get within 5 million kilometers and have a look, and that they can't approach at warp speed because of the radiation or the field or whatever, the gravitational shear, I think they said.
Gravitational shear.
So they have to approach at impulse, and it'll take 2 days to get there. So Archer says, do it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Make it so. Oh, wait, wrong captain.
Yeah.
So Paul leaves, and it's just Archer and Trip, and Archer asks Trip to have a look at the captain's chair because it's not very comfortable.
Yeah.
That's why he never sits on it, and when he does, he kind of perches at the end of it because it's just not very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So Trip's like, okay, I was going to purge the impulse manifolds, but...
I was going to do something actually productive. But
sure, if that's what you want me to do, that's what I'll do.
You're the captain, and your ass is more important.
Apparently so. Just get a cushion.
Yeah. Like,
Get one of those donuts, Captain. You don't have to beat around the bush.
that's right. Go to sick bay, get some cream. You'll be right.
We cut to the ready room. Archer is in there reading something on the monitor. Doorbell rings and T'Pol comes in. And she says that she's got the duty roster and that Lieutenant Reed has a new security protocol that he wants to discuss. So Archer says, I'll drop by the armory later.
Now, does this guy, invent everything for Star Trek?
Yes.
Like, he just seems to get everything, right? It's like force fields and read alert and all this shit.
Well, the force field was something
in
that
development, but he's perfected in 12 seconds.
They still don't use them.
Yeah,
if
so
you've
what's
noticed.
with that? They should be standard now.
They should be standard.
Because he's just developed it perfectly, fixed
Yes.
it. All the problems are gone. There you go.
You would think.
Stupid. Anyway.
T'Pol says that the chef didn't report for duty because he's sick. It's not very serious, but Ensign Sato, or Hoshi, has asked to take over because she likes cooking and would like the opportunity to cook for the crew.
How come they called her that in this episode?
What?
Sato.
because that's her name.
Yeah, but they don't. In every other, they always call her Hoshi.
When they're talking to her.
When they talk
talking
about
about
it, they
her,
talk in code.
Well,
I know it's not in
no.
code, but you know,
It's
just
like Lieutenant Paris asked for this instead of Tom asked for this.
It's weird.
Is it?
Yeah.
You think weird things are weird?
That's a great statement.
Anyway, Archer says, that's cool. Let her cook. And then says that he's received a manuscript from Earth, which is a biography of his father, and that he's been asked to write the preface and asked T'Pol if she would mind reading it when he was done. She says, cool. Yeah, sure. He says he's been putting it off for weeks, but hopefully that he can get it done while they're traveling at Impulse. He says that it's not that he hasn't had the time to do it, but it's just, how am I supposed to sum up my father's life in just a page? It would have been easier if they asked me to write the whole book. And she says, perhaps focusing on one incident that exemplifies your relationship with your father, you'll be able to condense your thoughts. Good idea.
Logical.
Logical.
Enough.
Yeah. We cut to the galley for the first time ever.
Yeah. Yep.
It's very exciting to have a new set to look at. And Hoshi's in there with
A guy.
some guy who's called Cunningham in the transcript that I've got.
Oh, Cunningham.
Cunningham.
Wow.
Like he's in the
Yeah.
like he's in the galley.
Cutting the ham. He's the ham cutter of the ship.
Anyway. And he says what the chef was planning on cooking, and she basically says, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm cooking what I want to cook.
Yeah.
So
I don't give a fuck. He can cook whatever he wants when
Yep.
he gets back. I'm here now.
yep. And she says she's going to do it from scratch.
Yeah.
Fuck the protein resequencer.
Yeah. Okay,
she
so
doesn't say fuck it.
no, but she might as well have.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll just grow a few chickens that'll be done in time for you. Like,
Yeah.
like
Let
yeah,
me just
sure.
Fertilize these eggs
Yeah.
we've got.
That's it. Fertilize these eggs, raise some chooks for you, pluck them, and I'll have them ready for you by dinner time. Like, what the fuck?
Yep. We cut to sick bay, and Phlox is sort of leaning over a mortar and pestle and grinding some herbs or something. And behind him, we see Travis walk in, and he says he's got a bit of a headache, but it's nothing serious. Was just hoping to get something for it so he could get back to work on the navigational sensors. Phlox says it would be irresponsible to dispense medication without examining you, so get on the biobed, please.
Yeah.
Asks how long you've had it. He says a couple of days.
I don't know.
And then Phlox says, well, I've been meaning to have you drop by sickbay in any case to see if you've had any problems since I removed the neural implants you received at the repair station. And he says, you think I could have something to do with that? And Phlox says, oh, I never rule anything out. Then again, it could be as innocuous as a muscular tension. On the other hand, Torellian plague starts with a simple headache, then all manner of nasty things begin to happen.
This guy
He's
is just
so
fantastic, isn't he? He is just brilliant. Like, the instant we see him in sickbay, you just sort of can tell there's something just a little off already with
Yep.
him, like, instantly. And then you're like, it just gets worse from there. And you're like, oh, fuck.
He's such a good actor.
He's like, you're like, this is getting creepy instantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was just fantastic.
Yep.
This guy just lifts everything in this show.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
We cut to the bridge. Tucker is using something that sounds like a dentist drill on the captain's chair. And T'Pol was at her station trying to do some work and trying to get Trip's attention to tell him to shut the fuck up.
Don't you Vulcans have this patience and
Mental focus and discipline.
Yeah, mental focus and discipline down pat.
And she says, we also have sensitive hearing. And he says, and then starts drilling again. Asshole! So she says, I'll be in my quarters, and fucks off. Yeah. We cut to the armory. Reed is...
Working on his big missile. Captain comes in.
Captain comes in.
Asking
correct.
about what he wanted to be seen for.
Yep.
And Reed was saying something about his tactical alert system.
He's been
things.
reviewing the encounters with hostile species.
That's right. Reviewing the encounters with hostile species and how slow everyone is and useless they are, and how he's much better than all of them.
Yep.
And he thinks that everyone needs to be as good as he is because he's sick of it. And that
He doesn't get that bad yet. But yes.
sorry, my bad. Well, that's how he is in most cases.
Yes.
So.
Correct.
So he wants to implement the tactical alert system.
A ship-wide emergency alert.
Yeah, so everyone can be ready, and things like the weapon systems can come online instantly and all that kind of
And
crap.
the plating on the hull could be polarized. And all the critical systems could be secured.
Yep.
All with one
Command or
command.
one tap on the bloody top of the ship.
And Archer says, I appreciate your concern, but this isn't a warship.
Yeah.
And he says, that's obvious, sir.
Clearly, they're all pathetic.
Yeah. He gives a pad with all the info on it to Archer, and he says, run it by the senior officers, get some feedback, and come back, and we'll talk.
Yeah.
And then he says, don't call it battle stations. Something less aggressive.
Yeah.
We cut to the mess hall. The tables are full of people eating soup, I guess. Eating from bowls. They've got spoons and chopsticks and all sorts.
Yeah.
And Hoshi's sort of walking amongst them going, how is it? Oh my God, do you like it? Oh, is it okay?
It's great.
The camera moves over to Reed and Tucker eating, but they're both sort of looking at their own pads and
Fully
talking,
engaged
but
in
not
their-
listening to each other.
Nah, fully engaged in their own work and worlds.
Yeah. Reed's talking about what to call the security protocol. Tripp's talking about a cup holder on the captain's chair. And they're
Which is a
both
great
getting
idea.
irritated with each other because they feel like
They're not getting enough
paying attention
Yeah.
to each other. Yeah. Tripp refers to the security protocol as a Reed alert.
Yeah.
And Reed, being the egomaniac that he is, was like, Reed alert? That's not bad.
It's not bad. It's
Take out
very
one E
close.
and you're pretty good.
Yeah, that shows that you're not vain, but you know what it actually means. It's a red alert. Yes, red alert. That's what it means.
Yeah, he was before it was like condition red,
Yeah.
and then Reed alert. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Put it together.
Like, figure it out. Cup holder on the captain's chair sounds like a good idea.
Hoshi comes over and asks if the boys are enjoying their lunch, and Tripp says it was terrific. Terrific.
Yeah.
But we can also see that Reed hasn't touched it. It's
Yeah.
still a full bowl
Yeah.
of soup. And Hoshi starts talking about what it's called and how all these families have different recipes. No one cares.
Right.
No one on the show or me.
No. who could give a shit?
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Hoshi.
Yeah.
But Tripp's trying to be nice and says, "Oh, it seems to be a big hit. Congratulations." Reed says it was lovely, and Hoshi's like, "But you haven't touched it. Let me get you a fresh one, please. It's no problem at all."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I'm not hungry. Don't worry about it. I'm fine."
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Are you sure there's nothing wrong with it?" Well, it was a bit salty.
Yeah.
Salty?
Yeah.
And she takes a sip, and she's like, "No, it's fine.
Yeah. No.
No,
No.
it's fine.
Absolutely.
Tastes fine." Well, it must be me then. Everyone else seems to be enjoying it, and they get up and go,
Yeah.
reading their pads.
Yeah.
They're not paying any attention to what
No.
she's saying, really, anyway.
Fair enough, right? Like, it could just be salty for him, right?
Yeah, everyone has a different, like,
Different palate, different
I
tastes. Everybody likes different things. Like,
I
you know,
guess
it probably
it
would.
does frustrate me when people add things to things I cook, though. I'm just going to say that right now.
Like when they add salt before tasting it.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree. It annoys me too.
Like, I season everything.
Yeah.
I taste it as I cook.
Yep.
Whatever I've served you, taste it before you add anything.
Yep.
One time, I had a family friend who you will know who I'm talking about. And it was not long after I moved back from Victoria, and I was staying with mum and dad for a while before I found my place.
Yep.
And the family friend come over for dinner, and I was like, I'm going to cook. Let me cook. I want to do it. So I made this delicious roast pork and peaches, all these roast vegetables, and I put in a big effort.
Yeah.
As soon as I served it up, where's the tomato sauce?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Tomato sauce? It's pork and peaches. Tomato sauce on peaches? Is there something wrong with you?
Now, to be fair, they put tomato sauce on everything.
On peaches.
Everything.
Does not make sense.
No, it's a weird thing, but they still do that.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, they still do that. They still put tomato sauce on everything.
It just makes me go, well, let me just serve you a potato. Let me microwave you a potato.
Yeah, and I'll give you some
because you're only
sauce.
going to taste the tomato sauce anyway, because it's so full of sugar and artificial flavoring that all you're going to taste is the tomato sauce and not the 4 hours of prep I put into the pork and peaches.
Yeah. I think the only thing that they haven't.
I'm not bitter about it.
No, not at all. No, you're not holding on to it all these years later. What's it been? 12 years or more?
At least almost 20. At least 20 years, actually. Yeah, I'm not bitter.
I don't think.
Not as bitter as fucking tomato sauce.
Yeah.
On fucking peaches. Anyway, funny. We cut to the sick bay, and Travis is lying on the bio bed next to the body scanner, and he asks Dr. Phlox how long this is going to take, and says he needs to get back to the bridge. And Phlox is like, "Oh, I'm afraid you won't be returning to duty today."
Yeah, sorry about that.
And he says, "When it comes to medical matters, my authority overrides the captain's, and I'm keeping you overnight for observation." And then he tries to get up, and he's like, Phlox pushes him back down, and has this like attitude, and the way he delivers his lines about doing a full biomolecular scan to find out what's hiding, just really
He's got
off-putting and fantastic.
Yeah, the creepy doctor vibe is just perfect.
He's got great comedic timing, this guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's so good. We cut to Archer's quarters. He's dictating the preface to his dad's biography, and he starts talking about when he visited a Warp 5 facility, and he's getting irritated because he's not very good at that job.
At all.
And Porthos is there barking, and he tells the dog to shut up, and the dog
Poor
goes
dog.
and sucks on his blanket.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad.
Well, he was
Poor
hungry.
Porthos.
He said, "I'll feed you in a minute." And then he's like, "Shut up."
Poor Porthos.
Poor dog.
We cut to Paul's quarters. The doorbell rings. Trip comes in and says, "Here's your sensor interface. What's the emergency?" She says, "I'm trying to identify some unusual radiation." And he says, "You dragged me up here so you could identify radiation?"
You said it was an emergency. She gave him $1.
Trip says, "Oh, I get it. You're paying me back, making me jump through your hoops because I was making too much noise. Meh, meh, meh."
Yeah, whiny, whine.
But he says he's moved the captain's chair down to engineering
Yeah.
because that's where it should be. And she says, "I prefer to work here anyway, and I need your assistance." And he says, "I don't have time for this. I can't cater to your whims. I have a chair to fix."
The captain's ass is more important.
She's like, "Are you feeling okay, Commander?" And he goes on this rant about how the captain is the most critical part of the ship, and and how important his ass is.
Yeah, that's it.
Ridiculous. But we cut back to sickbay. Phlox is still keeping Travis hostage while he does some scans and whatever. Travis is starting to freak out because he's supposed to be on duty and he hasn't had a shower and he doesn't have time and he needs to do these upgrades and he's worried about getting a reprimand and he's getting more and more anxious as it goes on. Yeah, Phlox keeps holding him there.
Yeah.
And Travis goes to walk out and then Phlox blocks his path and says, "I'm giving you an order."
Yeah.
And anyway, they end up sitting back down and
He's like,
talking.
He's like, "I'll just give you a
At least
analgesic.
At least let me give you an analgesic for the headache.
Yeah.
And Trevor says, well, that's all I wanted in the first place.
Yeah, could have cut all this out if you just gave me a fucking Panadol, damn it.
Exactly. So he comes back in and sits down, and Flock says, if it gets any worse or if you suffer any other symptoms, return here immediately, and then injects him. He waits a second, and then his eyes look at Flock's like, what did you... And then he's out.
Passes out. Didn't see that coming.
And then he ties Travis to the bed.
Yeah, that's it. Let's strap you down.
We cut to engineering. Trip is working on the captain's chair, and Malcolm comes in talking about the new security protocol.
Tactical alert.
Wanting to call it tactical alert. He said the read alert was a bit too narcissistic, but he plays a couple of different sounds for Trip to try to pick one, and Trip's not paying attention to anything he's saying anyway.
2 bags of cats.
Yep, that's what he says. So they just sort of talk at each other and not listening to each other again, but they seem to get angrier and angrier. And Reed ends up just walking out.
Yeah, with no help.
We cut to the galley. Hoshi's stirring madly her pot of soup. And Cunningham comes in and says, if we don't serve something soon, we're going to have a riot on our hands. And she makes him taste the soup. Is this too salty? Something's not right. Hand me the spice. Oh my God, I'm out of carrots.
Give me carrots. Give me carrots.
So he goes off to get carrots and says, like, you've been cooking the same meal over and over. And she cracks it and says, I believe I'm in charge with the galley. You're relieved. Get out.
Get out. Get out.
Psycho.
Yeah.
We have a quick shot of the Enterprise traveling slowly through space, and then we cut to the armory. And T'Pol walks in, reads at his desk or station.
Yeah.
And yeah, T'Pol walks in and starts to talk, and he says, clearance code. She says, I beg your pardon?
Yeah. What?
What is your clearance code? The armory is a restricted area.
God.
Even to the first officer? How do I know you are the first officer? We've encountered species that can alter their appearance.
Yeah, it's just fucking nuts. God, this. And I have to admit, this guy's good when he's not playing regular Reed.
Yeah.
Because he was really this character of being
This overzealous version.
overzealous version was done fantastically.
Yeah.
I really wanted to punch him in the face.
But that was the idea.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I mean. He done it very well. Like,
Normally you want to punch him in the face.
yeah, just cause. But with this, he done it really, really well.
Yeah. So he's hyper paranoid about security, obviously. She says that she's trying to run sensor scans from her quarters, and he's paranoid about that. Why wasn't I informed about that? Why would you want to do that in your quarters? This isn't okay. And then she notices he's wearing a phaser on his hip, and she asks, why are you armed? And he says, from now on, security personnel are to wear sidearms in all restricted areas. It was part of my proposal. Has the captain cleared your proposal? I've been trying to get him to pay closer attention to security since we left Space Dock, but he's more interested in fraternizing with the crew. Crazy.
Yeah. He's
Anyway.
just nuts. But in the best way, like he did it well.
Yes, he did it well. And she can clearly tell that it's
heightened.
She'd already noticed it with Trip. Now she's noticing that it's not just Trip that's affected by whatever the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what she says in her log.
Yep.
It wasn't long before I realized the odd behavior wasn't limited to Commander Tucker.
Yeah.
Also in her log, she also says that although she appears to be immune, she will soon discover that the captain is not.
Yeah.
Because we cut to engineering. Archer has been summoned there by Trip to do a scan of him, like a visual scan.
Measurements.
Yep, to get measurements for the chair. But Archer walks in holding the pad with the book preface on it. And so Archer's talking about the book. Tucker's trying to do this scan. And again, no one's listening to each other.
Paying that much
They're
attention.
just reading and barely paying
Yeah.
attention to what the other one is saying.
Answering with, what is it, automatic responses rather than actually giving a fuck.
Exactly. And then we cut to the galley. Hoshi and T'Pol are in there, and Hoshi is freaking out. I have 83 people to feed, not just senior officers. And Paul's like, all I asked for was a bowl of Plomek broth.
Yeah.
I don't have time for special orders. Anyway, you'll like this better. Will I?
Yeah.
Will
Sure.
I saw how many spices you put into that fucking thing. I don't know if she knows much about Vulcans.
Probably not going to like that.
Yeah. And then Archer comes in like, where's lunch?
Yeah.
And she says, it'll be ready in a minute. I don't have a minute. If you're hungry, fix yourself a sandwich. Paul tries to get the captain's attention, but Archer's too busy pulling the pot of soup off the stove and taking it to the workbench in the middle of the galley. Hoshi starts freaking out. Like, it's complex. It has to be right. My family's reputation's at stake. This is blah, blah. So it's chaos in this galley.
Yeah.
And then the new red alert sound goes off, or the tactical alert sound.
Yeah.
And there's a voiceover recording of, this is a tactical alert. All hands report to your stations. I repeat, this is a tactical alert.
Yeah.
As we fade to commercial. Craziness.
It's just
hectic.
nuts.
Chaos. When we come back from commercial, we come back to the bridge. Archer comes onto the bridge and says, report. And Reed is just standing there with his arms folded, like shaking his head. Like, yeah, the crew's response was unacceptable. 38% of them failed to report to their stations. Critical systems haven't been secured. I haven't even heard from engineering. And the captain says, I don't recall authorizing a drill.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be much of a drill if everyone knew about it, sir.
Fuck.
1 minute and 15 seconds. What? It took you 1 minute and 15 seconds to reach your post. I'd expect more of a commanding officer, given the crew might just follow your example. Whoa. Fucking
Yeah.
send him to the fucking
Yeah.
brig.
He'd be out. He'd be so fucking gone. I don't care whether he's got an alien fucking virus or fucking radiation or any fucking shit. I'd just be like, out you go. Fuck off.
Exactly. And Reed comes out and, Tripp comes up to the bridge. Reed has a go at him as well for how long he took. And then Tripp says, you might want to see this, sir. And they pulls them into the situation room at the back of the bridge. And he's talking about the fucking chair. He's like, interactive status displays, secondary home control, inertial micro dampers.
It's all up on the screen.
And no one gives a shit. Like, yeah. Tripp's just dribbling about this, asking about colours.
Reed's losing his
Reed's
shit.
losing his mind over the tactical alert and no one doing anything properly. Archer's just telling them both that they're ridiculous and why I'm trying to write a book here.
Yeah, that's it.
And Reed and Tripp get into a bit of a fight that Archer has to break up and says, I don't care. I don't care what colour the headrest is. I don't care if it can serve me iced tea. I just want a place to sit. And you, if I hear that alarm one more time, I might have you taken out and shot. And then he says to Paul, unless there's a real emergency like a reactor breach, I don't want to be disturbed. And he heads back to his quarters to write his preface.
Yeah.
Fucking chaos, craziness. So we cut to the quarters a little bit later, and he is like slumped in the corner or against a wall, and the doorbell goes, and Paul comes in, and he's like, do I have to start locking my door?
Yeah. Leave me the fuck alone,
And she
people.
says, you said to interrupt if there was an emergency, and I believe there is. And he says, is that right? She says that the crew's behaviour has become erratic, even by human standards. That everyone's grown distracted, and give some examples. But he seems to listen for a second, and he gets up, he stands up, and he gets real close to her, and you think, what's he gonna do?
Yeah.
Is he gonna say yes? Or is he gonna say no? He gets seems to think about it, real serious. He goes, I'm busy. She says, Captain, dismissed. And pretty much picks her up and puts her out of the room.
Moves, pushes her out.
Pushes her out, yeah. We cut to sick bay. Phlox is in his full fucking black latex surgery outfit.
Holding a
Full
scalpel.
fucking like reanimator style.
Yeah.
And Travis is strapped to the table with his light hanging over his head. And Paul comes in and says, Oh, you're just in time, Sub-Commander. There's a surgical gown in the compartment by the microscope. This is a rare opportunity to explore the human brain. Like,
Sure
what
is.
the fuck? He talks about how he's going to do extract 12 millimeters of Travis's parietal lobe for a subcellular analysis of the tissue to try to figure out why he has a mild headache.
Yeah, let's just do a lobotomy on this guy while we're at it. Jesus.
She tries to talk some sense into him. He doesn't listen. He gets quite angry. He threatens her with a laser scalpel. He kicks her out, and she goes to walk off and comes up behind him, gives him a Vulcan nerve pinch, and he collapses on the floor. I think T'Pol might have just saved Travis's life.
Yes, she very much did.
We get a quick shot of the ship approaching the black hole system and the trinary stars. And then we're in the corridor. T'Pol's got a scanner and she's walking through, and there's a bunch of people unconscious, and she sort of stops and scans a couple of people. And then she walks into the galley. Hoshi's broth is boiling over and overflowing, and everyone in there is unconscious. She goes over and scans Hoshi. With the voiceover, we hear her say that the crew's biosigns were growing erratic, and I began to doubt any of them would survive more than a few hours. She says, ironically, the highly detailed scans that Dr. Phlox took of Ensign Mayweather proved to be useful.
Yeah, funnily
because she was able to determine that the radiation coming from the trinary star system was what was causing the erratic behaviors. She also discovers in that scene that reversing course won't get them out of the danger zone quick enough.
Yeah.
Because it'll take them 2 days to get out, and no one's going to survive that. But there is a way forward through the system to get out quicker, but she won't be able to do it by herself.
Yeah.
So we cut to Archer's quarters. He is unconscious and slumped over his desk, and T'Pol comes in. He says, I told you not to disturb me.
I'm sorry. Was your unconscious state interrupted?
Yeah, exactly. But she kind of picks him up and throws him in the shower with cold water and tries to tell him what's going on and that the crew need him. While the water's running, he's like, well, if everyone's sick, call Phlox. She says, he's worse than any of you.
Yeah.
Then she says, we need someone to pilot the ship while I do the navigation. And he says, Travis, get Travis. She says, nope, he's been sedated. It's you or we all die.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm in no condition to fly a starship. We have no other choice, Captain. I should do dramatic readings, I swear.
Sure, yeah.
We get a quick shot of the Enterprise flying through some debris. Then we're on the bridge, and T'Pol is at her station scanning, and Archer is at the helm, barely conscious, trying to pilot the ship using a joystick.
Yeah, using a
Noticeably.
joystick. Yeah.
Yep. So she's yelling out directions and navigational numbers and shit, and he's trying to keep it together.
Yeah.
That goes on for a little bit, and then one of the
Giant
boulders,
asteroidy thingies.
yeah, whatever. Part of it hits the Enterprise, like knocks it, and it sets off a tactical alert.
Yeah.
And luckily, that fires up the weapons so that they're ready to use immediately.
Yeah, which makes no sense, but that's one of those
that's
things.
how it works.
Well, it's not how it works.
What do you mean that's not how it works? You have to charge
It's one of those things, right? Yes, you have to charge the weapons, right? You have to charge the weapons. So when something hits the ship, you still have
ready to go.
Yeah, you have. Well, it can't be ready to go. You still have to charge the weapons.
No.
The weepens can't be instantly charged.
They're instantly charged.
As soon as that alarm goes off.
Tactical alert, they're instantly charged.
It doesn't make sense for them
Totally
to
makes
be
sense.
instantly charged, because
Totally
that
makes
means you would have
sense.
been able to instantly charge them with a push of a button every time.
No. Incorrect. Anyway, the tactical alert helps.
Sure.
And they use the weapons to fire at the big boulders so that they can go through the debris field unharmed. Once they get to the other side, they warp away. We cut to sickbay. Phlox has a full house while he's doing scans.
Yep.
Travis says he's a little tired, but the headache's gone.
Yeah.
Archer and T'Pol enter and ask how the crew's going. Flock says no lingering effects, mostly just some rattled nerves and bruises.
Sprains and stuff
Yep.
from when they fell.
Yep. And then he thanks T'Pol for stopping him.
Yeah, which is fair.
Archer was like, What
happened?
He's like, I'll fill you in later. I'll give you the full report later.
Yeah, I almost killed one of your crew members,
Yeah.
but I'll just write it in a report. We won't worry about
That's for next time. Nothing to see here.
it. Yeah.
We cut to the ready room. Archer's in there. Reed comes in and says, "You wanted to see me, Captain?" And he says, "I did. Your tactical alert went off while we were in the debris field, and it really helped. So make it a standard procedure." And he says, "I'll get right on it." Then they walk out of the ready room together onto the bridge. Trip has finished putting the captain's chair back in its place. Archer says, "It doesn't look any different to me." And he says, "Well, give it a go." So he does. And he sits for a second. And he goes, "It feels better. What did you do?"
Cross your legs.
"Yeah. What did you do? It seems totally different." And he says, "I lowered it by 1 centimeter. It's like, "That's all?" "Yeah, I didn't have time to do the status displays or the inertial micro dampers, but if you give me a couple of days." He's like, no, this will be fine, thank you. He's like, "What about the cup holder?"
Yeah, I can put the cup holder.
It'll be fine. So Trip leaves. Archer gives him a thumbs up as he turns around in the turbo lift, and then he sits in the chair for a minute, and then he gets up anyway because he never sits in that fucking chair.
Nope.
And then he walks over to T'Pol with his pad, and he goes, "How does this sound?" So, like I said at the start, we kind of touched on everyone's thing except Hoshi's.
Yeah.
We never know if Hoshi perfected that soup or not.
No. I'm going to go with no.
Probably not.
Never allowed back in the kitchen again.
Never ever. All right, now we talk through it, Tom. Any other thoughts?
Not really. It was just a fun episode, like you said.
Yeah.
It was just really... It was good. It was enjoyable. It was lots of funny moments. There was lots of just... It was entertaining in the full sense.
And the life lesson?
Don't get hung up on little things is probably the best lesson you can take from it.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get hung up on the trivialness of small things that don't really matter.
Yeah.
You lose sight of the big picture and the fact that the whole ship is about to be
That's
destroyed.
exactly right.
And everyone is going to die.
Yeah.
And really, your captain's chair doesn't matter that much.
No.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. Cool. Very good. IMDb ratings. Examples of 1 episodes of Voyager's Threshold and Next Gen's Code of Honor. Examples of 10 episodes of Next Gen's Tapestry and Deep Space Nine's Far Beyond the Stars. With those examples in mind, what are we going to rate this week's episode?
I'd put it up there with a lot of the others. So I'd be up at about the 7 or 8.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Do you think this is better than A Night in Sickbay?
I don't think it's better. I'd put it on par. I really enjoyed it
Okay.
quite a lot. And that was an 8, right?
That was a 7.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, 7. Well, yeah, I'd put it on the same as that.
I'm happy to go with a 7. So 7 it is. Cool. All right. That's it for the week. If you want to share your opinion of Enterprise's Singularity or anything Star Trek related in general, you can reach out to us on Facebook at Temporal Directive Podcast and on Instagram, just Temporal Directive, or you can email us at wakefield_productions@outlook.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please get in touch. We'll be back next week with the episode Vanishing Point. Live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.